Is Tuesday morning. It is November the 25th, and even though it is Thanksgiving week, it is a Tuesday during hurricane season, and there is no cloud fire data issue, which means we can actually track the tropics. From sunny Central Florida, I'm West 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22, Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson. Good morning.
Good morning, Jerry. It's been a couple of weeks. We had some technical issues here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, last week we were all set to go, and there was that data outage, and we are here and ready to go this week.
That's right. So let's just go right to it and just kind of see where we're at. First off, satellite imagery. Happy to say there is nothing going on out in the Atlantic Basin. National Hurricane Center saying that there is no tropical development expected over the next 7 days' time.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not really a big surprise to anyone. I think it's like 6% of all named storms have happened during November. So, final week of the month should be quiet. However, though, there are some models at least trying to show some lows in interesting spots in the Atlantic Basin coming up. So, I guess never say never, but hopefully this is it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. If there's one thing we learned from the world of James Bond, it's never say never again, right? And if you're a Sean Connery fan, you get the reference. But at any rate, I guess we should probably, what do you say, Jeremy? Probably should go look at the computer models and just kind of get an idea of what's happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like a few years ago, we had a subtropical storm. I think it was in January.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
can get these sort of either hybrid storms or still the water's warm enough down in the Caribbean to get a plain old tropical system. Doesn't
right.
happen often, but it has happened in the past. So, yes, as you said, let's take a look at where things stand.
Sure. So here's the American model, the GFS. And, we talk about this model all the time and how it has this bias. It loves to develop these, what do we call them? Like GFS-icanes, these fake systems. It loves to do that. So just to roll through time and looking high pressure, settling in, what we're looking for is that little purplish dot there in the Caribbean. That's December 3rd, the computer model still wanting to develop something, bringing it in toward Central America, and then it kind of fades it out and then fires something else up around the Dominican Republic and Haiti. That's the 6Z run. If we go back a run to the 0Z run, same kind of idea where it just keeps wanting to spin something up. And, those of us that watch models very often know the GFS just loves this idea, Jeremy, of trying to develop systems. It seems to always 300 plus hours out want to do something like that.
Yeah, so that's why we usually look at not only that, the GFS, the European ensembles. I would say GFS obviously is sort of on an island in terms of the strength of the
Right.
development or how the look of it right now. But there are some other models that are at least showing a similar setup where there's a low pressure area down
Right.
maybe into the Caribbean. I even took a peek this morning. A couple of the members in the last few days from the Google DeepMind have
Hmm.
been showing something today. It just had one that was showing low pressure that heads up towards the Yucatan. So
Right.
it was not very impressive. But at least it's showing something. I mean, there could be some low pressure down there. Does it develop? Odds would say no, I guess, if you just look at climatology.
Right.
But it is in an area where the water is still warm, so you get low pressure down there. And maybe there's something interesting. And I guess if it is, maybe we'll fire up tracking the tropics in December.
Let's not. I mean, I get what you're saying, but also let's not
Right.
do that. But yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
something happens, that's the case. So, what I did is I went back to just kind of look and say, all right, does this happen? And if so, how often does it happen? And the last time that we had a system formed during the month of December was 2013. Okay. And to give you an idea, the last time anything hit Florida was 1925. So you're 100 years before. 27 systems have formed in history during the month of December, 21 named storms and 10 hurricanes. So this is not something that happens often or all the time in any way, shape, or form. That said, though, Jeremy, you had mentioned that the computer models are at least, some limited members are showing it. So it's worth
Hmm.
looking at, right? And so, first off, this is the GFS ensemble. And just looking at the ensemble data, and I'm going to show all low locations, you can very clearly see at the very bottom there that there are ensemble members that are showing. Actually, I don't think you can see it there. Let me bring it full
I think it's
screen.
just right on the edge, but yeah, you can barely see it down there east
Right.
of kind of Central America-ish
it,
area.
it, it kind of brings it into Central America and doesn't do anything with it. If we look at the European ensembles, and I'm just going to roll through time here, it's the same kind of idea where it shows maybe like a Caglo or something to that effect, but nothing of note. So as you mentioned, Jared, and I'm just rolling through it here, and again, it doesn't show anything of note, which I think is also the point that we're trying to make here. So
Hmm.
I think water temperatures are warm enough. Could something try to get going down there? Sure. Do you think that it's going to be a hurricane? Probably not. But like an
Right.
area of low pressure, that's not absolutely crazy to discuss.
Yeah, and as you made the point a few weeks ago when we were here, you were like, just because on the calendar it says November the
Mhm.
30th, and then you get to December 1st, hurricane season doesn't say, all right, shut down,
Right.
that's it. Obviously, the first week or two of December is almost like the last week in
Yep.
November in the big picture. So, um, odds probably favor there could be some sort of low down there.
Yeah.
Is it going to be tropical or subtropical? Again, chances are lower than it would be. And then we talk about water temperatures in our area. Our water temperature now is way too cool for
Yep.
anything here. I mean, we're into the time of year now where if we had a low pressure, it would be more like a low that eventually maybe develops into a nor'easter as it heads
Right.
up the coast or something like that.
Well, but those are also little hints, little indicators for what's to
Hmm.
come as you and I are already very
Yeah.
much looking toward our hurricane season forecast for next year.
Yeah. So if okay, so say something as you were showing, maybe there's a low that gets towards Central America. Then we would watch. Is that something that's turning to the north,
Right.
headed towards the Yucatan, or into the Gulf, even if it really doesn't develop and maybe gets sort of meshed in with a cold front that gets dragged through? These are just little clues for hurricane season 2026. I would say overall, though, I think we are pleasantly happy that we have
Yeah.
not had any big strong lows
Yeah.
down uh, over the Gulf or maybe near Florida that would really pique our interest so far.
Right.
But we're not. We're still kind of in the initial stages of just learning about what this pattern may be.
Right. So we're watching it. We're keeping a very close eye on it. But it's also important, when we talk about data, right? I, I'm not going to liken Jeremy. I know you're going to laugh, right? I'm not going to liken you or I to like medical doctors, but
Right.
a medical doctor, a part of the main part of what they do is they look at the information and they kind of help you analyze it. You and I are not doctors, although you probably are smart enough you could go get your doctorate. But we're here to look at all the data with you and to have a nice open discussion and to help you analyze that data because computer models are just raw math equations basically. I mean, we're working AI into it, but they are guidance, not gospel, and that's where you need a trusted team of meteorologists to be able to kind of help you navigate through that.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at a lot of data, so we have to pick out what we think is the best solution
Right.
that would give the outcome that we believe in. So whether it's short term or long range forecasting, there's a lot of different data you can look at. And obviously, you were talking about like a doctor or physician. You have to go to someone you trust, and hopefully, the experience and kind of what we have done here in the past continues to bring people back moving forward.
I would agree with that. I would also say, though, that either way, maybe we have a system or not, we know that the season is wrapping up. So let's just look at some of the statistics.
Hmm.
I'll start with just the numbers and then you can get into the ace. So far this year, and this is probably going to end up being a final number, 13 named storms. The average for a season is 14.1. Last year through today's date, we had 18 named storms, Jeremy.
Yeah, and then you're looking at the ace there. We ended up a little bit more than 10 ace points above average. And if there's no more storms, that will be the final number. So ace ended up above average. And then I'm not sure if you're going to show hurricanes or major hurricanes, but ace and
Cat 5.
also, what was that?
There's your Cat 5 numbers.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The Cat 5s, three of those this year, and there were four major hurricanes. So busy in terms of stronger hurricanes this year. Total hurricanes were just a little bit below average. So we
Right.
had a couple metrics above average, others that were very, very close to average.
Yeah, so hopefully the season is done and we don't have to worry too much about any other kind of impacts. But it's at least worth popping on here, doing a discussion and opening up the
Mhm.
table. I've noticed a couple of people, Jeremy, have been asking, do we think that this is going to be the last tracking the tropics? And then somebody else chimed in saying it may be that there's one needed for next week if this area of low pressure decides it wants to do something.
Yeah, we'll see. And this low might be week one or week two
Right.
of December, so we'll have to see if it does anything. I believe what's the next if there would be one more name storm? I think it's Nestor.
And I think it's Nestor. Yeah.
Yep, that
So
would be 14. So yeah, 14 is average. What was that back in 2020? They recalculated the averages. It went from what 12 to 14, I think.
I think
The
you're right.
average name. So
I need more
it
coffee,
has
but
ticked
yeah.
up a little bit, the 30-year averages. 13 is very close to average. We'll see. We had that super kind of long stretch of dusty, dry
Yeah.
air over the Atlantic
Yep.
basin.
Yep.
I think that chewed into probably a name or two this year because
Oh
it
yeah.
just suppressed all tropical
Yep.
activity, which
Yep.
is not a bad thing.
Right.
But I think it did limit that number a little bit.
So Dixie says, when are you going to admit your above average season was wrong? And while, again, talking about that dry air, it's important to note, there's different metrics to look at. For example,
Hmm.
the ACE for this year was 10 ACE points above average. So again, it just depends on what you look at. And if there's one thing that I think is very, very important to always remember, and you and I think fully embrace this, Phil Klotzbach always says, there's nothing more humbling than long range forecasting. So we're going to get some things perfect. We're going to get some things not perfect, but we're still going to do our job, which is the best we can. So I have no
Yeah.
problems with how we played everything out. Our long range forecast, while there were no landfalls, and you and I are not cheering for that, there were storm
Hmm.
systems where they should be each and every time. They just weren't tropical, and that's okay with me.
Yeah, and I would say if there's one thing I would probably say I was most surprised about going into the season and how it ended is that there were no landfalls, whether they were tropical storms or
Right.
hurricanes, in the Gulf.
Wild. Wild how that has happened. So now it's time to post kind of case study it and then look ahead to
Yeah.
next year and see how it all plays out and see how the pattern is different. And the one thing I noticed yesterday was there's some nasty weather like Texas, Louisiana. So it's kind of like,
Yep.
wonder.
Yeah, and also I think from our standpoint, the little bit I've been diving into, we've been kind of just studying the individual pieces of the pattern right
Right.
now. We're trying to figure out that cycle duration, which is a key to
Yep.
our forecast. But it really looks like this year it is going to be a longer
Yep.
cycle duration.
It
So
does.
and maybe quite a bit longer. We've been somewhere in that lower 40s ish range here the last couple of years for the pattern reoccurring. This year, probably going to be a longer duration. So
Which,
we'll maybe get fewer looks going
right.
into our forecast. So maybe making it a little more challenging.
Love that.
We'll see.
And that would also perhaps indicate maybe a little bit of a lower number, perhaps.
Yeah, possibility. I think this year we learned that one huge wild card and one that we're probably not very good at forecasting is Saharan dust ahead
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah. Boy, this year was something. And that's definitely a problem. That's a big fly in the ointment, so to speak, in our
You're right.
forecasting because you could have all the synoptic setup in the world if you don't have that moisture available, it ain't gonna,
Right.
hurricane ain't gonna hurricane, as simple as it says.
Yeah. So I mean that's a bit of a wild card. I think the lows that we had projected in the Gulf, you mentioned, like I think we still saw some lower pressures in
Oh
that
yeah.
area.
Yeah.
But one thing we learned is that the focus really should be on strengthening systems or systems maintaining their strength
Right.
versus the ones we highlighted in the Gulf going through the end of last year were all falling apart as they moved in there.
And that may be, it's like we always want to look and say, how can we do it better? And I think that you're right. I think that that's probably going to be a very key part is, all right, are they strengthening? Are they holding? Because you're right. As these were all falling apart, we noticed during hurricane season this year that none of them were able to get their sea legs, so to speak, in the Gulf.
Right.
So, with that said, there may be something to that. And I want to say that we had discussed it before, but I've never seen such a blatant case for that playing in as this
Hmm.
past hurricane season.
Yeah. So again, I think we learned some things. Also, I think identifying that some of these storms would be stronger this year was something we did in advance. But sort of almost on to next
Yeah.
hurricane season already. We'll just see how the next couple of weeks play out. If there's any little lows down in the Caribbean.
And if there is, we will pop in and do a special version of tracking the tropics. But for now, I mean, next, it's not hurricane season next Tuesday, right?
Nope.
So is this it, Jeremy? Is this our last scheduled tracking the
I think
tropics
so.
Tuesday?
I Unless something happens to pop up or surprises us, or we have something big we want to break to people. Um, I guess this is another season of tracking the tropics is pretty much in the books.
I like it. And I'm sorry, friends, that we haven't been able to do it the last couple of weeks. Technical stuff is always so fun. But I will tell you, Jeremy has been yelling at me when we haven't been able to do it. He's like, "What are you talking about? We can't do it, Burris."
Well, no, last week was that AWS outage,
The week
and
before, I think I had meetings or something. Is that what
yeah, you
right?
had a last second meeting. It was you found out like right before 10,
Yeah.
and that did not work out. So,
Sorry.
but
Sorry,
those were
guys.
quiet. Those were quiet weeks, and we
Yeah.
probably didn't have much to show. So this week we got to talk about maybe a little low down in the Caribbean. To
Forecast.
yeah, we'll be ready. That